We're going to begin tonight with breaking news, with the nation on edge and in the middle of another night of protests. Tonight, the president says he is calling up, quote, thousands and thousands of heavily armed soldiers in Washington and calling on all of the nation's governors to deploy the National Guard to, quote, dominate the streets. Shortly after telling reporters that, and before Washington's curfew began, police used tear gas and rubber bullets to clear peaceful protesters out of Lafayette Park across from the White House. All this so the president could walk to nearby St. John's Episcopal Church for a photo op. Moments ago, the Episcopal Bishop of Washington called that an outrage, noting that the president...
Wonderful moment after that where the protesters were chanting, telling him to take a knee, and the commander took a knee with all the protesters. It was very, very powerful, and I had a chat to the police commander afterwards, and here's what he said.
Well, it's just an opportunity to front load. I mean, the other day things got out of control quick. We kind of lost our grasp early. This is an opportunity on the front end to make peace, make amends, to share our emotion, my personal emotion, and to hope we don't return to what happened Saturday. I don't want this to happen again. This is heartbreaking for all of us.
And what we saw as well here is that protests can be peaceful and get their message across.
Yes, in America, protesting is great. You know, this is the land of the home and the free. You know, this is the glory days, the promised land. The land of hope and dreams. So we want people to protest. We want the freedom of expression. It's so important to us as Americans to allow that, and we have the obligation to provide the opportunity for people to protest naturally as they should without violence.
What is the solution?
Well, the solution is that we need to break bread. The solution is we need continued collaborative efforts. We need to sit down and continue to listen, to continue to pour our hearts and our souls into the expectations of our community who we serve first. That has been going on for the last 3 decades, and that will continue to go on.
Full demonstration, and I have Matt with me who has been marching as well. Matt, well, thank you. Just tell me why you wanted to be part of what's happening here today.
I felt like, as a black man living in America for over the last 30 years, and I don't even live, I'm not originally from Los Angeles, I'm from Chicago, and when I drive home at night, I'm scared to get pulled over by the cops. There's times when I don't want to leave work at a certain time because the cops in my neighborhood pull me over for no reason at all. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. I'm trying to do my best to be a part of the movement. You know, we have been here before. Unfortunately, I feel like we might be here again in the future. So the systematic racism that's in this country and of America, that built America, it doesn't acknowledge the value of black people. And if I can come out here and just show my support in any way and really just make it an effort to be a part of this cause, then that's what I'm going to do.
We saw a moment up at another peaceful protest up on Sunset where the police commander knelt with the protesters. Wow. Do you think those moments are significant? Do you think they make a difference?
Yeah, because I think that, you know, every step is a step forward, even if it's a little step. And it shows solidarity that not all cops are bad, and that the police departments all across America recognize
the streets of Chicago. 23 states have already called up the National Guard, and more than 40 cities, including New York, Washington, and Los Angeles, are now under curfews. Well, there's a lot to report about tonight, and our team of correspondents is standing by. CBS's Chris Van Cleve is going to lead us off tonight from here in Washington. Chris?
Officers out in the streets of D.C. tonight. The goal is to keep things peaceful. Police flashbangs and tear gas hurled at protesters near the White House signaled the start of a curfew here.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
In Chicago, hundreds marched shouting, "Hands up, don't shoot." And in Minneapolis, heartbreak as the family of George Floyd visited the spot where he died while in police custody for the first time. His brother Terrence calling for an end to violence.
What are y'all doing? Y'all doing nothing. Because that's not going to bring my brother back at all.
But the dark of night has brought anything but peace. The entire Washington, D.C. National Guard has been activated after protesters faced off with police, torched cars, broke windows, and looted businesses across the nation's capital overnight. Police responding with tear gas.
There's nothing we can do against it.
88 were arrested here, more than 7,000 nationwide. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
In the very city.
After days of rage and fury, the unthinkable. A fuel tanker speeding into a crowd of peaceful protesters.
Oh my gosh, the speed at which that truck approached.
The truck stopping as hundreds on this freeway, reacting in rage, swarmed the cabin and the driver. There was nowhere to go except forward, and that's exactly what he did. But the demonstrators were having none of it. The driver stood no chance, pulled out and beaten. Bogdan Vacherko was the man behind the wheel, later arrested and charged with assault. Police still unable to say whether the act was deliberate or accidental. Incredibly, those who broke inside the cabin and swung the first punches also very likely saved his life.
The police are throwing their grenades back into the crowd. Well, this is inevitable. The protesters are refusing to move back, and now the tear gas is coming in. They are refusing to move, and the police are telling us to get out of here.
The clouds of tear gas made it impossible to breathe.
You know you're wrong!
This is not okay. This is what they are shooting our children with, our brothers and sisters.
But on a dark day, a moment of light. A CNN reporter speaking directly to the family of George Floyd, then asking the city's police chief about justice.
All of these thousands of protesters out of this area and home before night falls. The point of that is not to have a repeat of those scenes we saw after dark, but as you can see, that's already threatening to happen, and the concern is, okay, so they're actually pulling protesters in from about a block either side of the White House, trying to contain the area, which is inevitably going to lead to just a tinderbox here outside Lafayette Park. What we know is that this is no longer about law enforcement for the Capitol. This is now a security. I hear you. I am giving that message. I just want to pass on some messages from the protesters as well, because they are very, very peaceful. Many of them, I know we're seeing escalating tensions here. I know we're seeing a lot of violence, and we're probably going to see a lot more. And we need to report that because it's an important part of the story. But we also need to tell you that a lot of these people don't want to see the violence. These peaceful protests, are being hijacked by people who are trying to make trouble. We're good. All right, and they're chanting now. As you can hear, George Floyd, George Floyd. That is the essence of this message, and that is what has led to all this. And we are shortly going to hear from the President. We understand 1,200 National Guard from 5 states across America have now been deployed here to the Capitol to secure Washington, D.C. after the scenes of anarchy on the streets here last night.
Amelia, this is not far, as you say, from where the President is due to give a speech. Is there a sense of trying to control the situation before he comes out? And how close can they get to the White House? Give us an idea on the parameters of the security operation. Gee whiz, it's the... Whoa.
Yeah, all right. So police have just charged the protesters who don't want to be moved on. You're right. They do not want to be moved on. They do not want to be pushed back. But with curfew approaching, they need to clear the area. And you can see, going that way, excuse me, sir, you can see how serious, you're right, how serious the police are and the response of the protesters. They've got their arms up, a lot of them. That's really important to point out here. They've got their arms up, a lot of them being very peaceful. Some of them kneeling, asking for authorities to listen to them, and they're saying, put down your weapons. Obviously, that is not going to happen here because this is a major security situation which is unfolding. All as we wait for Donald Trump to announce what we understand will be
a serious escalation in the federal response to this crisis.
Amelia, we've heard throughout the morning protesters saying, or one of their criticisms of police is that they're not de-escalating the situation. Just based on where you are now, you say protesters have their hands up. Just give us a sense of the police response of what you can see.
It's really hard, Ali, because look, there's been some really lovely moments in Washington DC yesterday and this morning that I've witnessed, although that's probably hard to believe right now, where some officers have put down their shields and they have knelt with the protesters. They're aiming at you. But right now, obviously their job as security is to clear this whole area opposite the White House. So they're going to use force, and the issue there is, of course, this whole movement, this whole protest is about police brutality and the treatment that African Americans in this country have suffered at the hands of white authorities for hundreds and hundreds of years. So we're seeing this play out in front of us, this absolute struggle between people who want to be heard and want to say, let's do this peacefully, stand with us and show us that you hear us and have a dialogue with us. But at the same time, because there is such a dangerous element here and there are people who are here to riot and to loot and to destroy the city, and that is happening right across the states, be able to hear what's going on here. There's no doubt about it.
So those sounds, Amelia, is that tear gas going off behind you?
Yeah, so we've got flashbangs and stun guns, and then, yeah, that's exactly right. So basically the police line, as you can see, has moved in this sort of making a square, really, in the front of Lafayette Park there outside the White House. There's now mounted police as well, so they're up on horseback, pushing everyone back. And when the protesters refuse to move, that's when you're hearing those... That's when you're hearing the tear gas canisters being. Oh,
well, this is basically
about
fired,
and it's not nice.
This is about securing the president, isn't it, Amelia? This is why they're moving as they are right now.
Yeah, I mean, and also it is. I mean, he's due to, as I said, step out into the Rose Garden any minute now. But it is also because of curfew, so the timing's kind of coincided for him to call that briefing half an hour before curfew kicks in, which is normally when police would be doing this anyway. This is what they were doing half an hour before curfew yesterday, but that was at 10:30 at night. That you saw this exact situation unfolding, but there were, by then I think, probably fewer people because all of the peaceful protesters and the families had gone home when they were asked to after the peaceful rally. But those people are all still here. You know, it's broad daylight. They've only just finished the march and we've been walking alongside them. And as I said earlier, there were some lovely moments of solidarity with the authorities along the march today. Some officers did kneel with them, others refused. They went to the Capitol building, which was a really nice moment of symbolism because, of course, it's the people who work, watch out, the people who work in that building that are running this country, and this is the system that all of these people say is broken, and it is. All right, we're moving back.
Yeah, it looks like they're
probably...
is again in the thick of it. That's someone who's picked up some tear gas and thrown it back. I mean, this is the kind of thing that's only going to wind the crowds up more, but it's also going to make the police more intent on driving those crowds back and trying to bring about a level of calm around Washington, D.C., but it is not, as you can see. It is just heightened tensions even further. Amelia, you back with us?
The authorities need to do their job and they need to clear the streets so that we don't have a repeat of what we saw last night. So it's a very, very difficult balance. And what you're now seeing is people kneeling on the streets outside the White House, and they're chanting, drop a knee, for George Floyd, of course. And the riot police opposite them at this stage, no one is kneeling. They're
Listen, they gonna bring the fucking military.
I mean, that's the delicate balance that,
moving around.
that is taking place here, Amelia, isn't it? You know, you've got those peaceful protesters that we're just looking at there who've gone down on one knee. But are you seeing a different element start to move in now? You were talking before that there have been families there throughout the day. They've started to clear out. Those people behind you, do you feel it's a different element that has now moved in?
Look, it absolutely is, and this is what we saw last night as well, where you had so many people come, and such a range. You know, I've seen little children and older men and women, white Americans, black Americans, college students, a real range of voices here, all wanting to come together and call for change to a system that is very, very oppressive and that clearly isn't working. Now that things have turned a little bit tense, to say the least, a lot of those people will have left. You know, I can still see some of them because it's still early. That's the thing. You expect it if curfew's later that they'll head home before dark. But right up there on the line, Ali, you're absolutely right. I mean, these are sort of the hardcore people that will not leave under any circumstances. Now the crowd is chanting, "Don't shoot, don't shoot," because they can see the military police, their canisters ready, and they're pushing back with the batons. So we're now, we're less than, we're half a block back from the White House. So they are moving the crowd very slowly. But then if you look around this way, just have a look. Hands up in the air.